It is Wednesday, the 15th day of November 2017. Hello there and welcome to News Tonight. John Opori will be joining me shortly on sign language, and I am Edward Rukidi Kijanangama, and let's get started straight away. Now, Zimbabwe's President Robert Mugabe has been placed under house arrest in the capital Harare, says South African President Jacob Zuma. Now, this comes after the detainment of several government officials in what many were expecting to be the beginning of power transition in the country. We have more on that in this report.
Tensions are running high in Zimbabwe following the military takeover and placement of President Robert Mugabe under house arrest at his home in the capital Harare by the army. President Mugabe, however, told South African President Jacob Zuma in a phone call that he was fine.
I am hoping that the defense force will not move and do more damage, that they will be able to respect the constitution of Zimbabwe as well as the people of Zimbabwe, so that this situation does not go beyond the situation where it is now, particularly because we are now in contact with them as well as the president. We are hoping that this situation is going to be controlled so that peace and stability comes back to Zimbabwe.
Hostility has been building in Zimbabwe since the firing of the country's vice president, a move that was widely seen as a part of a battle between the vice president and the first lady over the presidential succession.
Surprise! It was an overnight coup which has taken place through the military. And us as Zimbabweans, we had thought we were going to have a free and fair election next year, but overnight we have seen that the army has taken over. But we look forward that maybe it is going to be a short thing, then the people of Zimbabwe should decide for themselves which party to lead them.
The tension escalated after an earlier statement released by General Constantine Chimuenga, warning that the military would not hesitate to step in to end purges against former liberation war fighters.
Therefore, the current shenanigans by people who do not share the same liberation history of ZANU-PF party are not a surprise to us. But what is significant to us and the generality of Zimbabweans is to remember that all these rebellions were diffused by the military. But at no point did the military usurp power. We must remind those behind the current treacherous shenanigans that when it comes to matters of protecting our revolution, the military will not hesitate to step in.
However, in a televised address early this morning by the military spokesperson, Major General S.B. Moyo, refuted the statement, saying the army was seeking to address the political, social and economic situation that could have ended in a violent conflict.
We are only targeting criminals around him, causing social and economic suffering in the country in order to bring them to justice. As soon as we have accomplished our mission, we expect that the situation will return to normalcy.
Charlotte Muge, UBC News.
And that's what's happening in Zimbabwe. And of course, things are not really going on well for President Robert Mugabe there. Let's come back closer to home, and we go specifically to Kenya, where the Supreme Court of Kenya has Wednesday started hearing into petitions seeking to once again annul re-election of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Now, Kenyatta was announced a winner of the October presidential elections, having polled 98% of the total votes cast.
Underlying reason for challenging the 26th October repeat presidential elections in Kenya is grounded on argument that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission acted out of the dictates of Constitution by failing to conduct fresh nominations. The petitioner's legal representative further submitted to the court that several counties never participated in the polls as required for which the voter turnout was to a tune of doubting the credibility of the exercise. Voter intimidation and violence is another concern cited to have obstructed conducting of a free and fair election.
To say the purpose of that statement by Dr. Akombe, which is owned and admitted, or at least the contents, and which is why we started with the chairman's address of the 18th of October 2017, was to show the environment within which the IBC was operating.
The petitioners are Njonjo Mui and Khalif Khalifa and businessman Harun Mwau. The defense lawyers against the petitions kicked in their submissions by alluding that there are no perfect elections in the world. Regarding nominations, according to defense lawyers, nobody apart from the candidates in the elections was ever denied from participating in the exercise, at least by expression of interest to courts.
So my learned friends should satisfy the test. Through what medium are you adducing that evidence?
Secondly, the laws governing the elections are cited not to provide manner in which to conduct fresh elections, although a 2013 ruling on a similar case is attributed not to call for conducting of fresh nominations. The petitions are before a 6-member bench comprising of the Chief Justice David Maraga, Deputy Chief Justice Philimona Mwilu, and Justices Jackton Ojwang, Isaac Leonola, Njoki Ndungu, and Smokin Wanjala. Same court nullified the August 8th elections, leading to conducting of fresh elections, the result for which is yet again being challenged. Onyango Jackson, reporting.
Thanks, Jackson, for that report there. Now, coming back home, let's look at the education sector, where the Minister for Education and Sports, Janet Kataha Museveni, has advised Ugandan technocrats to make good use of the Eastern and Southern African Centers of Excellence projects that have been launched here in Uganda. Now, the Centers of Excellence will be in the broad areas of science, technology, engineering and mathematics, agriculture, health science, quality of education and statistics, among others. We have more on that in this report.
I note with satisfaction that this project is aimed at strengthening institutional capacity of selected higher education institutions to deliver quality postgraduate education and building collaborative research capacity in the regional priority areas, which include industry, agriculture, health, education, and applied statistics. These priority areas indeed speak to our own priorities identified in our National Development Plan 2, as well as Uganda's National Vision 2040. Uganda now has 9 public universities, as we know, and 41 recognized private universities with a total enrollment of 182,000 students. These institutions have established campuses which are regionally spread in order to increase access to higher education. However, as a country, we are all still battling with the problem of unemployment of our youth graduating from all these institutions, and this we must tackle through reformed approaches to education delivery. Centers of Excellence provides us with the opportunity to focus on development of the key human resource needs for the priority sectors of our economy.
Minister for Education and Sports, Janet Kataha Museveni, of course, shedding more light on the Eastern and Southern African Centers of Excellence projects that have already been launched here in Kampala. Let's now step into the courthouse, where the High Court in Kampala has overturned a verdict that had ushered one Isabire Idi into Parliament, accusing Intendant Robert of bribing electorates with, among others, an ambulance, solar panels, and a borehole. Ntende Robert redeemed his victory after Court of Appeal ruled that the trial judge erred when she relied on evidence of a mere photography of an ambulance. Led by the former Deputy Chief Justice Stephen Kavuma, court has subsequently directed the first respondent in the case to pay all court expenses, including the ones of Ginger.
Relatives and friends of Ntende Robert celebrated his win after court pronounced him as the duly elected Member of Parliament for Bunya South Constituency, Mayuge District. This was after a verdict was delivered in their favor during a court session at Twet Towers, Kampala. According to the victor, Ntende Robert, this has been a journey of court battles with his main opponent, Isabire Idi. Ntende Robert says despite winning the February 2016 elections, his opponent has been engaging him in court battles due to what he termed selfish reasons. In the petitions, Isabire ran to court seeking nullification of Ntende Robert's election on grounds that he bribed electorates with an ambulance, solar panels, repairing boreholes, and salt, among others. Though the Ginger High Court considered the evidence substantial, Court of Appeal has faulted the trial judge, saying there was no evidence that the said beneficiaries of the ambulance were all registered voters and that the photograph presented in court was not dated.
Be registered voters. Mail attaching a copy of ID to prove that one is a registered voter without extracting or annexing a relevant page on which the deponent appears on the roll of voter was not enough.
Onyango Jackson and Kimono Dokas reporting.
News Tonight will now take a short break, but we'll be coming back with a lot more, including what the Entebbe Express Highway will bring in as far as advantage of using that express highway is concerned. Stay tuned. Welcome back from that short break, and this is News Tonight. John Opori is on sign language, and I am Edward Rukidi Kijanangoma. Let's continue with our news now. And the increasing traffic jam which has been seen on the existing Kampala-Entebbe road will come to an end following the completion of the 51-kilometer Kampala-Entebbe Express Highway due next year, 2018. Now, the Kampala-Entebbe Expressway toll road, the construction works was launched in 2012 by President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni to decongest the existing Kampala-Entebbe road. And according to officials from Uganda National Roads Authority, over 90% is already complete, as we hear in this report.
Works on the 51-kilometer Kampala-Entebbe Express Highway is about 90% complete, despite some challenges of compensation disputes among other related cases. China Communication Construction Company is building the road. Construction of the 51-kilometer road was launched by President Yoweri Museveni in 2012, and it is set for completion by the 5th of May 2018. According to the in-charge Kampala-Entebbe Express Highway project at UNRA, Engineer Birungi Jen, this will be a toll road with 3 paying road tolls at Kajansi, Mpala, and Busega. She, however, cautioned motorists against using this road before it is handed over to government because anybody caught using it will be punished. This was during the inspection tour by UNRA officials accompanied by journalists to witness the progress works on this project.
Signages are not yet in place, though we have asked the contractor to place them very soon. So it's a bit dangerous, and because of that we have had several accidents. We have tried to run tried to run in the newspapers some notices informing the public not to use the road, but despite all that, it has still failed. So we appeal to the public to be patient with us. We are going to complete the road and we shall hand it over to you.
The head of land acquisition at UNRA, Matovu William, says disputes. Uganda National Roads Authority managed to compensate 3,936 people out of 4,914 and has paid 281 billion shillings out of the 3,936 billion shillings budgeted for the entire project.
That's the money that government has to pay. And all that money is actually met by the government of Uganda. And out of that, we have paid so far close to 281 billion Uganda shillings. So you can see we have a little percentage left to compensate the people. So we are making progress.
Salongo Kasibanti compiled this report.
Now, the Ministry of Education and Sports, in collaboration with the Government of India, has launched the International Training Program on Entrepreneurship Development among rural women. Now, the Minister of State for Primary Education, Rosemary Seninde, launched the training program in Kampala and challenged beneficiaries to embrace knowledge sharing.
Madam Honorable Minister,
At least 46 beneficiaries, 23 agriculture tutors from primary teachers' colleges, and 23 women farmers selected from all regions of the country are benefiting from the International Training Program on Entrepreneurship Development for Rural Women. The trainings range from post-harvest handling, dairy production technologies, horticulture, and other areas in agricultural development. The program is being spearheaded by the Ministry of Education and Sports in collaboration with the Government of India. Minister of State for Primary Education, Rosemary Seninde, challenged the trainers to pass on the knowledge acquired to other farmers.
It is a program for Uganda. You are the chosen few to make Uganda proud and to make Uganda benefit from this training. So, we are sure you are going to do the right thing. As a Minister of State for Primary Education, and as a ministry in general, one of the things that have hurt us so much is lack of feeding of our children in school.
The program coordinator, George Mutekanga, says emphasis is being put on rural women because majority of them survive on small-scale agriculture.
So it will work because women will be encouraged to save, first of all, as a strategy. Saving culture is very poor, you know. But if they can save their own, before they even use it, they come up with a program, an enterprise, or a program, or a project of their own. It could be knitting, it could be baking, it could be catering, it could be service provision. Now, it is that project that they have come up with that the government of India supports. So the government of Uganda should now come up with the same strategy. Instead of giving women money anyhow and youth.
The International Entrepreneurship Program for Rural Women is supported by U.S. Government Global Hunger and Food Security Initiative. Adia Nakute, UBC.
Thanks, Adia, for that report there. Now let's go to northern Uganda, to Gulu district specifically, where the district administration there is working on a policy that will require all primary schools in the district to feed their pupils without fail. Now, in an exclusive interview with UBC TV, Mr. Ojara Martin Mapenduzi, the Gulu District LC5 chairman, says parents should not blame poverty for not feeding their children while at school.
In 2015, the Minister of Education and Sports launched the school feeding policy that was supposed to guide every school in the country on how best to feed their children in a bid to curb absenteeism and poor performance tagged to hunger. This was disclosed at the Acholi Regional Adolescent Gala Agenda Consultative Meeting that was addressed by the State Minister for Youth and Children, Florence Nachwala Chinji. She said the percentage of children not going to school, especially in rural areas, is big.
According to the 2014 National Census, 10% of the children between 6 to 12 years and 4.1% between 13 to 18 years have never been to school at all. Majority of who are girls and children in rural areas.
Gulu District LC5 Chairman Martin Ojara Mapenduzi blames parents for ignoring their advice on feeding.
So when a parent does not provide food for a child in school, this child is forced to go back home and will still eat from home. So in simple terms, you're saying, why don't you, instead of giving that from home, why don't you give that to the school?
The policy is said to have stalled in some parts of the country as parents decry poverty. However, Mapendu says for the case of Gulu district, out of the 55 government-aided schools, the program has been successful in the 19 piloted schools.
In a Wach sub-county, Ogoro, it's one of our remote schools. But when you go there, you see parents bringing food items in school, and they have in excess. And the children eat from primary 1 to primary 7. You go to Guluko Primary School Demonstration School. You go to... So most of our schools are now feeding children.
He says come next year, the program is going to be compulsory.
We are now developing a policy document that will guide this process. So we are now going to say that instead of letting it be optional, it has to be for every child. Because when you decide to feed a few who can afford it and you leave the rest, you are creating more problem for those who cannot afford. You are actually traumatizing them. You are taking their attention away from learning.
Gulu District Resident Commissioner Captain Okot Santos Lapolo called for collective responsibility in helping the Ugandan child realize a better future.
Unfortunately, you and I are not concerned. When we send children to school, we think it is the role of the teacher. When we send the children back home, we think it is the role of the parents. No neighbors, no one. It is that period of storm and stress that all of us, be it religious organizations, civil society, must step up our vigilance.
Owing to the high dropout rates, partially fueled by lack of meals in schools in Uganda, a 2014 report by the United Nations Education, Scientific and Culture Organization UNESCO established that completion rate is low, affecting access rates to the subsequent cycles. It emerged that although almost every child enrolls in primary 1, 63% of the generation reaches primary 7, only 49% enters lower secondary, and ultimately only 10% complete senior 6. Bernard Higa, UBC, Gulu.
Thanks, Bernard, for that report there. And let's go to Mubende now, where mothers in the maternity ward of Mubende Hospital have been supported with mosquito nets to protect them from catching malaria and have also been given mama kits. Now, the hospital staff has also received sacks of rice, cooking oil, sachets of sugar and salt. Brian White, a business tycoon, gave this donation during his visit to Mubende Hospital, an orphanage and schools within the district. He said despite the strike by medical practitioners, doctors in Mubende Hospital were actually present and attending to patients.
A business tycoon, Brian Chirumira, known as Brian White, has visited a school and orphanage in Mubende Glory Land Primary and Secondary, where he interacted with the vulnerable children, encouraged them to believe in themselves. Brian White, giving a donation of basic needs and some money to the children, urged them to concentrate on their education, to have bright future and stay healthy. This included sacks of sugar, salt, rice and flour, boxes of cooking oil, milk, and girls received packets of sanitary towels.
Yes, need at I would like from you a bus. We need a big bus. Abatanafuna mukisanga guki baguno gwe tulina mulidde so nolwekyo tumukubireko mu ngalo ekifo watukuŋŋaanyiza twebaka enkuba tetukubanga baana balala baganda bafa batalinaako bamaama abatambulire ku makubo.
At Mubende Regional Referral Hospital, patients were being attended to by the doctors despite the medical practitioners' strike.
Normally fond of condemning and blaming and criticizing, but we want to thank you that you appreciate what the health workers are. Of your own heart, you have been able to get this so that the staff can also feel appreciated and get a pat on their back. I feel this is going to re-energize them.
Twandisawunzeewo omukyala ayambadde bwatyo kati ono mukulu wa ddwaliro deputy tetugenda musanga mu kino nga naye gwakula ogugwa okukubiriza teyandibaddewo yandibadde wuwe batulaze abalwadde buli omu ateekeddwa okubaako eccupa kweri ateekeddwa okubaako eddagala ly'amira abasawo we bali.
Here, mothers in the maternity ward received mosquito nets and mama kits, while staff got sacks of sugar, salt and rice. The Deputy RDC Mubende, Kiza Evelyn Amoti, appreciated the gesture. The visit ended in Chegegwa district, where Migamba and St. Paul Secondary School were also supported with basic needs. I'm Nafka Farida and Josephine Nasolo reporting.
Now, almost 2 weeks after a bloody accident claimed lives of 6 Kampala International University students, the University Vice-Chancellor, Dr. Mohamed Meza-Mhigo, is appealing a better road use. Meza-Mhigo says that though they have not yet received the accident report from Uganda Police, all indications are that careless driving from all parties was to blame for the fatalities.
A somber mood still fills Kampala International University following the perishing of 6 students in an accident a fortnight ago. The students, most of whom of Rwandese descent, were returning from Nakasongola on tour. Now, the University Vice-Chancellor, Dr. Mohamed Meza-Mhigo, is advising road users to ensure discipline during this upcoming festive period.
The message here really is not to refresh the pain that went to the families, to the university community, but is to make a passionate call and appeal to our drivers, the motorists. It's a very serious problem, and we are going into this season of excitement and celebrations and ending the year, and people, are counting and saying, no, I've made it, 2017 is now coming to an end. We would like to appeal to the general public to abide by the traffic regulations, to really keep, to drive safely, to avoid drinking while driving, to really ensure that they keep the safety of the passengers.
The Vice-Chancellor appeals to the international students to forget the incident and focus on pursuing academic excellence. This message comes just days before the university's 17th graduation ceremony, slated for Saturday this week.
This number has risen significantly because of the fact that we have expanded on our bursary profile. There isn't a single district in Uganda that does not have a bursary scheme through KIU. So this is really being realized. And we think, whereas this is an international university, we can still support our local students who come here on merit and who go out and become and remain competitive.
John Ban Sentamu reporting.
You are still watching News Tonight, and we are glad you are still with us. Now, the Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Kadaga, has criticized Ugandans over failure to guard their natural resources. Kadaga made the remarks while launching a tree planting campaign in Kamuli district that was organized by the National Water and Sewerage Corporation. The Plant a Tree, Save the Future program is part of National Water and Security, National Water and Sewerage Corporation's 1 million trees nationwide campaign, and a total of 20,000 trees will be planted in Kamuli district.
You can see it from the air. If you have gone to North Africa during the day, you see a huge expanse of trees in the center of the desert. That's Gaddafi has in the desert. Yafukirira, Yakura, Yafa Yajirekao. I ain't family now, we are just asleep. In the United Arab Emirates, they have no rain, they manufacture rain. But it's greener than Uganda now. Umuntu asasula government 4,500 shillings to cut a tree. 4,000. That's what the central government gets.
They look elsewhere for a solution, but we need to be part of the solution. So as a corporation, we came up with a campaign of planting at least, and the word is at least, 1 million trees. But we intend to do more, our dear guests.
Speaker of Parliament Rebecca Litwala Kadaga emphasizing there in that report the importance of tree planting if Uganda does not want to become a desert. Now let's go back to the courtroom now, where the High Court in Kampala has stayed elections of local councils that were slated for the 21st of this month. Now in his ruling, Justice Stephen Musota advised the Electoral Commission to discuss with the petitioner, James Tweheyo, thereafter a report to court on the outcomes. Now James Tweheyo wants elections to be held during holidays to accommodate school-going Ugandans, as we hear in this report.
Early this week, a different High Court sitting in Jinja stopped Local Council 1 and 2 elections that were slated for 14th and 21st this month, mainly because students were not catered for. This morning, another civil division of the High Court has also walked on the same path, ruling that everything related to the elections be stayed until the 29th day of November. This was after Justice Stephen Musota advised the Election Commission to listen to the petitioner and then report back to him by 29th of November.
In the circumstances, I will need to get back to my employers or my clients and put the matter before them for amicable settlement. But it is a matter that can be settled out of court.
I think you consider this possible.
To the petitioner, this offers room for the electoral body to iron out all irregularities that might render the process unlawful. However, Ronald Olore, one of the aspirants from Luzira, has cried foul, saying all this is a waste of time and resources. Ronald insists that as aspirants they have already done enough to sensitize the electorate. The current terms expired in 2006, but government postponed elections due to lack of funds. In 2012, elections were slated for December, but the Electoral Commission postponed them due to lack of 51 billion shillings to organize the polls. The elections were again postponed from 17 January 2017, awaiting a parliamentary amendment that, among others, provided for voting by lining up behind a preferred candidate. Onyango Jackson and Gloria Gutabinji reporting.
Welcome back from that short break. It's time now for us to have a look at business news. And Makerere University student leaders have committed themselves to fight against abuse of tobacco among their fellow students and other peers. Now, this followed a sensitization meeting with anti-tobacco activists about the effects and regulation of tobacco and its products in Uganda in accordance with the 2015 Tobacco Control Act. Details of that in this report.
In 2015, Uganda enacted the Tobacco Control Act to regulate the production, supply and consumption of tobacco and its products to the population. The law seeks to protect the health of persons and the environment from effects of tobacco, but people still abuse provisions of the law openly due to ignorance and weak enforcement of the act.
Now there is nothing whatsoever that can stop any law enforcers to go ahead and impound and arrest all the persons who are contravening all sections of the Tobacco Control Act.
Makerere University students leaders have committed themselves to fight against abuse of tobacco among their fellow students and other peers.
We can, if these institutions that are enforcing the law can collect all this, believe you me, we as concerned citizens, we as public conscious citizens, we shall help them to look to it that there is prosecution success.
The Uganda National Health Consumers Organization, UNHCO, is banking on the students' leaders to spread the message further to their peers.
We are trying to raise public awareness among the Makerere students because we know that they are coming from different parts of the country. We can take the message and we extend the coverage of this information to all parts of the country.
According to the law, any person who contravenes the Tobacco Control Act is liable to imprisonment of a term not less than a year or pays a fine of shillings 420,000 or both. Recently, members of parliament complained about the delayed enforcement of the law, which was enacted on May 19th last year, saying smoking in public has persisted. Samuel Garandi, UBC News.
Now, the UN representative for Somalia, Michael Keating, has held a meeting with Somali women leaders on the Security Council Resolution 1325 on women, peace and security. Now, the summit's emphasis is to find modalities in translating the Council's resolutions into real results in Somalia. Hilda Mutuni reports.
The United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 represents a major breakthrough and affirms the role of women in peacekeeping, prevention and resolution of conflict, peace negotiations, and prevention and protection of women and girls from conflict. The Special Representative of the United Nations Secretary General for Somalia, Michael Keating, stressed the importance of their equal participation and full involvement in all efforts aimed at achieving peace and security.
And we owe it to the dead, and we owe it to those who've been wounded, and we owe it to you who have suffered to honor that suffering by achieving results in the area of peace and security. And I am 100% sure that women have an absolutely central role in doing that.
Resolution 1325 also urges all actors to increase the participation of women and incorporate gender perspectives in all United Nations and countries' peace and security efforts. Hadija Mohammed Diriye, Minister of Youth and Sports, said the forum is being held at the right time when the government is involving women and the general public to contribute towards security and stabilization of the country in order to realize development. The chairperson of Somalia National Women Organization, Batula Sheikh Ahmed Gabale, who played a critical role in the advocacy campaign for the attainment of women's 30% reserved seats in the 2016 electoral process, emphasized on the interlinkages of women's political empowerment and leadership, decision-making role, and the state of security in the country.
In Somali, women's political empowerment, particularly enhanced role in the leadership and decision-making, is closely interlinked to the state of security.
The Security Council Resolution 1325 also calls on all parties in conflict to take special measures to protect women and girls from sexual and gender-based violence, particularly rape and other forms of sexual abuse in situations of armed conflict. The event brought together women from the political arena, civil society, security and the private sector to deliberate on women's leadership in peace negotiations and conflict resolution in Somalia. Mutonyi Hilda, UBC News.
Brought to you by
Welcome back. Let's have a look now at sports news, and we begin with basketball, where playoff action has continued with reigning champions City Oilers marching into an unprecedented fifth successive final. Now this follows a victory over Baytwe Power at the MTN Arena, Lugogo.
Playing in a red jersey, City Oilers came into this game knowing victory will secure passage to the 2017 National Basketball League final. They huffed and puffed against Power side, but ultimately the quality of players Oilers has eased passage with an 84-77 ceiling, a 3 straight semi-final win. Evergreen Stephen Omonyi top scored for Oilers with 21 points, while Landry Ndikmana returned 15. They will, in the final later this month, play either Kampala International University Titans or Pemba Warriors, whose best of 5 series is level 1 all, with game 3 on today at YMCA Wandegea. In the ladies category, JKL Lady Dolphins has leveled its best of 5 semi-final series against reigning champions Uganda Christian University to 1-all following a comprehensive 70-61 victory. Salma Akinyi top scored for JKL with 14 points. These two meet again on Friday in pursuit for a final appearance against either KCCA Leopards or A1 Challenge. John Barnes Centamon compiled the story for UBC.
Football news now, and we look at the under-20 team. And of course, having been disqualified from the under-20 2016 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier in Rwanda due to fielding ineligible players, the Federation of Uganda Football Association is not risking it this time round, but has rather summoned players in the junior league who will represent Uganda as an invitational team in the COSAFA tournament.
21 players have been summoned for the Under-20 COSAFA tournament slated for 6th to 16th December this year in Zimbabwe. The squad was selected based on the continuity performance of players from the first edition of the FUFA Junior League. The squad will start intensifying and polishing training drills at Nambole Stadium on 27th November under tactician Matia Lule. FUFA Junior League Development Manager Bashir Motiaba announced the squad.
I have made the squad, played in the AFCON qualifiers of 2014, and then the Under-20 qualifiers 2016, and a few players who have excelled from the FUFA Juniors League, as well as the new talents that we've scouted around.
Kenny Said, Fred Okot, Alex Komakech, Paya Sobuya, Alan Okello, Charles Seutinde, Shaban Muhammad, and Umar Chewine, among others, will tussle it out to make it to the final cut of 20 players. In related development, 3 Ugandan referees have been appointed to officiate in the forthcoming Council of the East Africa and Central Football Associations, and 1 for CHAN tournaments scheduled for 3rd to 16th December this year in Kenya.
The national team coach. And then the other was coaching a club on the African continent. So by virtue of those 2 qualifications appearing on the application form, it was always going to be very, very important for someone to be considerate when applying. Yeah.
Partners have come on board to support the upcoming FUFA Awards, with URA and Postbank committing financial contributions.
National Bank, we are so passionate about football. Football brings people together. Football unites us. And so as Postbank, sports is one of the key pillars of our on our activity calendar. And so we are so excited to be a part of.
The organizing committee released nominees in 5 more categories of MVP men, FUFA Referee of the Year, Coach of the Year, Upcoming Talent, and FUFA Uprising Referee who exhibited excellent officiating in the FUFA Juniors League 2016-2017. For UBC, Helen Barbara, Jizamba.
And finally, Nigeria defeated Argentina 4-2 in an international friendly in Russia on Tuesday as the nations prepare for action at the 2018 FIFA World Cup. Now, Ivar Benege and Sergio Aguero gave Argentina a 2-goal lead after 36 minutes, but Kelechi Iheanacho struck back on the stroke of halftime at the Krasnodar Stadium. Nigeria were on level terms 7 minutes into the second half, with Alex Iwobi netting for the Super Eagles, and they took a shock 3-2 lead just 2 minutes later through Brian Idowu. Argentina's problems were compounded after 73 minutes, Iwobi grabbing his brace as the scoreline ended in embarrassment for the South American giants, despite the defeated side dominating position. Now, Argentina were missing some people who departed the squad before the match, with La Liste providing their selection for the friendly. And with the sports news, we've finally come to the end of News Tonight. Thank you so much for having kept us company. Jonan Opuri was in sign language, and I'm Edward Rukidiki Janangoma saying good night to you and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.